Okay, so moving on to the second part of your notes for this lesson. I know the last one, it was longer, it was more dense, it had more content in it. So this one I'm going to try and kind of go through a little bit quicker, still explain things fully, but this has a few less examples, okay? So it's going to take hopefully a little bit less time than that last one, right? So example 3. This takes away some of the context and it's just talking about linear equations, right? I already noticed got a little typo there for equation, sorry about that. Now, solving this equation for y, it's no different from what we did before. I'm going to rewrite it. 5x minus 4y equals 9. Solving that for y means I got to get rid of 5x, means I got to get rid of that negative 4. So for me to solve that, first step, subtract 5x, keeping everything the same. Negative 4y equals negative 5x plus 9. And if you wrote that as 9 minus 5x, it's the same thing, right? I just like writing the variable term first, right? For me to finish that out, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 4. Okay, so looking at that, 4 looks kind of like a y, sorry about that. 4. So me working that out, y equals, and those of you that are more comfortable with decimals, totally fine. That'll be 1.25. Wow, fix that a little bit. 1.25. See if I can do a better job. A little bit better. 1.25 minus 2.25. Okay. If you're good with fractions, that's totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. All right. So if I plug in negative 3, that's plugging in negative 3 for x. So I'm taking 1.25 times negative 3. Okay, so that becomes negative 3.75. All right. Then subtract 2.25. Y is going to equal negative 6 after I do my substitution. All right, so moving ahead. Example 4, rewriting a non-linear equation. So essentially a linear equation is going to have terms of x, terms of y, and a constant term, right? Non-linear equations basically have anything else. So this one's non-linear because we have a y term, but then we have an xy term, which is kind of odd to deal with. So for me to solve this, the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to look at this and see each of these terms has a y in common. So we're going to kind of undo that distribution, which is another word for saying factoring. We're going to factor out a y from each of these terms. So if I factor out a y from each of those terms, this becomes 8 plus x after I factor out y. And that's equal to 10. Okay, so for me to solve for y, I've basically got to get rid of this quantity, 8 plus x. So the way I get rid of that quantity, 8 plus x, I'm going to use a different color to show this. I'm going to divide by 8 plus x. Okay, so we're treating 8 plus x as this single quantity, right? Because it's y times this whole thing. So for my kind of solved equation here, or formula, it's going to be 10 over 8 plus x, right? And you'll notice I took off those parentheses. Mainly I put the parentheses on here to show that these are being multiplied. 8 plus x isn't being multiplied by anything, so I took the parentheses off. And that's kind of a weird thing. It seems like I did that for no reason, but if it's not being multiplied by anything, it doesn't hurt to leave them, but I just took them off for aesthetic reasons, all right? So finding y when x is negative 6, I'm just simply substituting in negative 6, 4x. So 8 plus negative 6 on the bottom of my fraction. So that's 10 over negative, or 10 over positive 2. 10 divided by positive 2 is 5. And 5 is my solution there. So moving to the last two guided practice examples here. These two examples cover essentially what we just did before. So try them on your own, check in, try to work through them without asking me any questions. And then if you really get stuck, ask. But try to work through them and then check them. And if it still doesn't make sense, then definitely, flag me down and I'll help you out. So with 4, solving that for y and then finding the value of y when x is 4. X is 4 for both 4 and 5. So solving this one for y. First step, I am going to subtract 6x. 2y equals negative 6x plus 14. And then I'm going to solve for y by dividing by 2. And when I say divide by 2, I mean divide everything by 2. Divide the negative 6 by 2. Divide the 14 by 2. So this equation becomes negative 3x, come on, plus 7. And then I go about plugging in 4. Y equals negative 3 times 4 plus 7. Simplifying, negative 12 plus 7. I'm going to bleed over to the other side. Y equals negative 5. So it's just making sure that we're following our steps for solving and expanding that understanding to solving equations with more than one variable, right? So I'm just going to erase this part for now, just to give me some room for my work over here. So here's another one, nonlinear. Got a y term, got an xy term. So we should notice that both of those terms have a y in them, meaning we can factor out a y. So we have parentheses, inside of that is 3 minus 4x equals 26. Solve for y. Treat this 3 minus 4x as its own quantity. Divide both sides by that quantity. And then we've got y equals 26 over 3 minus 4x. Why did I do parentheses there? 4x. Okay? And then again, we're plugging in 4. We're substituting in 4. So I'll do this in a different color to show. Y equals 26 over 3 minus 4 times 4, which is 16. So I'm going to take care of 3 minus 16 on the bottom. This is y equals 26 over negative 13, which in the end is just negative 2. Wow. Let's fix that. Y equals negative 2. Make sure you guys can read at least part of this, right? So y equals negative 2. So now you guys should be ready for just one extra check, one extra activity, and then you're on to the practice and the checkpoints. So make sure you're checking in, asking questions, and I will do my best to help you. So just keep chugging along, and good luck with the rest of the lesson.